Alright, this video is going to be more about me just kind of clearing out my subconscious a bit, because according to my deep buried memories, this needs to be said. So, I haven't been awake long. When I woke up, I wrote down pretty much what was going on in my mind, and I posted it on Facebook and on Instagram, my previous post. You can read it. I think I've said it very well, so I'm just going to read exactly what I wrote, and then I'll go into detail after that. Still having dreams about being stuck in the army and how they constantly worked against me. In the dream, I ran in circles, with them hunting me like a wild boar in the woods. No matter where I hid, they followed, getting so close on my heels, to take me away to some ridiculous place to punish me, for what I never knew, never understood. In waking life, they would build, and I mean from absolutely nothing, cases against us, and demand explanations about things that had never happened. They knew this. They'd pull us aside, and pick well-behaved ones to accompany us, just for show, so we'd be extra ashamed, and scream about, "What were you doing at such and such place?" And when you say you weren't there, they'd type it up anyway, make you sign it, deal the verdict and its punishment, and send you off to be miserable for an indefinite amount of time. Then when you go to an officer, begging for help to somehow, anyhow, be rescued from these animal E6s, the officer tells them to get their shit together, and when you go back to your barracks, the E6 tears you to shreds for running your mouth. You cannot win with these people. For those of you who did well and, I guess, weren't a threat, I'm glad you made it work. But there are those of us who got the same treatment from government workers with a goddamn complex that we got at any other place. Oh, this bitch thinks she's gonna outshine the rest? I don't fucking think so. We'll crush her soul before we let her enjoy her little status. And people with that attitude swear up and down that you must surely be aware of how great you are. First of all, I've hated myself my entire life, until recently. So that's wrong anyway. But that's all I wanted to tell. Just had a dream about it and woke up before I was about to kill myself because I couldn't get away from their lies. Almost did that in real life when I was there too. I just want people to know that sometimes that something that big doesn't always work out. And sometimes you have bad dreams about it for a long time. I may try hypnosis to overcome this. It's been 13 years. So I left the military in September 2010. Because 5 months after that, Dad died. 5 or 6 months later. 5 months. It was February. So, there's already a couple comments. I'll read them in a minute. Because right now I gotta reprocess what I said and explain it. So, when you join the military, the first thing you have to know is that, and they don't tell you this, they're not going to tell you shit, because they need you to be a little worker bee. All they care about is that you're strong and that you do exactly as you're told at all times, no matter what. And fuck your morals. Unless you can squeak by with some religious thing, then if you can use that, then go ahead. Then they kind of can't bother you. But I don't know how much that's changed. So you have to ask it. But for the most part, just bear in mind that they're not going to tell you what their plans are with you, and they're not going to tell you how you're going to be treated throughout. The shit that goes on in boot camp goes on the entire time you're there. There's no boot camp and then the real army. That's not it. They do that shit no matter where you are, no matter who you're with, because there's always people in power there who ought not to goddamn be in power. And that's just the way it is. And it's people who do good in their fucking PT, who can do a lot of fucking push-ups, who get promoted, and then they get up there and they scream at people, because it feels good, I guess. And those are the people that get put in charge. It's not merit. It's not if you have your head screwed on right. So the first thing I was going to say was, when you get there, the first thing you need to understand is, number one, you're not going to know a goddamn thing about anything. So be prepared to just live like an animal, being like a water buffalo tilling fucking rice fields. That's all you're going to know. Two, your constitutional rights as a citizen, if you have them, are going to go away. You don't have constitutional rights and freedom of speech and blah, blah, fucking blah when you're in the fucking military. That gets stripped from you like they're pulling off your skin. So when you get there and say, well, my constitutional rights, god damn it, blah, blah, they're going to say you can shove that way up your ass, farther than any dick has ever been, because we don't have that here. and they mean it. They mean it. When you get there, damn it, you do what you are told no matter what. And if you don't, fuck you. And that's why when people get there, people like me who ought not to be micromanaged because they don't fucking need it, have a real hard time, because you get there and you're capable as a fucking human being of making decisions on your own, and you take initiative for things. And typically they like these people to be officers. So really I should have said to hell with all of you and just gone to OCS and been done with it. But I didn't have such high hopes for myself, so I didn't do that. And I went in, enlisted just to be an animal, like everybody else. So, but I got there and I was not meant for that path. And I did what they wanted. Like, I did the shit that they told me to do, but there were scuffles and heartaches and things that went on that didn't have to, and there was a lot of screaming that wasn't necessary, and that's how they communicate. But I guess men respond better to that, the screaming, than just regular, like, talking like two adults. I have to assume that with this being their system, that's how they learn, is through threatening your safety. Well, they do it to us. They do it to women. So, that's what they use. That's their thing. And so they do it to each other when they get there. And it's weird to see that play out, because they don't like it when they do it to each other. They like to do it to women and kids, but they don't like it to do it to each other. But then they get there, and then there's like a mental problem for them, because they know somebody up above them, in rank, which they also like, hierarchy, is doing it to them, and they're on a lower level, so they can't fight back, and they don't like it, but they know that that's how they like to do. It's real fun. When you see dudes go there and they're getting like a taste of their own medicine, is what I'm trying to say. It's real screwed up for them, because they're not accustomed to it. They're not used to arguing with other men. And and they can't do anything because it's somebody that ranks above them. And hierarchy is masculine. So they, at the same time, they know they have to somehow respect it, but they're still pissed off about it because they're offended that somebody had the goddamn nerve to yell at them. So to watch their psychology is really, that's a show all on its own. And the women don't respond well to screaming at all, because that's not how we learn. And we don't learn through domestic violence either, I hate to tell you. But, so that kind of stuff really, really isn't good for us at all. I think at this point, if women really need to join the military, if they can't make it anywhere else, that's just what they want to do, or whatever it is, they need to go back to having a women's military, because the raping that goes on, whether they're here in the States or on a base, somewhere else, is astronomical. And they don't tell you this either, but every time they go on deployment anywhere, and they're leaving the country, quote unquote. If you go to another country and you are in the military and you are on a military base in another country, you are still on U.S. soil. So don't let that slip. If you're not in the military and you go on a military base in another country, you're on U.S. soil. But if you are in the military on a base out there in a foreign country, on your own base, you are very much still subject to, because the men that get out there act like, okay, there's no more rules. We're 10,000 miles from home. We're in the desert. I could do whatever I want. I could just rape 10 bitches and just, and it never, I'll never hear about it, and the raping is so bad, that I'd be surprised anybody's still joining, but I probably have to save that for a whole other fucking video. But what I want you to understand is that they don't like people who fucking use their brains. And if you do, you need to go into Officer Candidate School, OCS, and be somebody who's in charge. If you're considering OCS, that's a very, very difficult way to go. The training is absolutely grueling. If you can do it, you can do it. Do it. But I'm just saying that part is rough. I've heard plenty about it. My dad was an officer. I'm not, I'm privy to at least some of it. And it's not for the weak. Boot camp was fine. I was tired and shit, but it wasn't like I couldn't go back and do it again. If I could go back and do it again, well, not that I would, but if I had to go back and do it again at the age I'm at now, I still wouldn't be able to run. I would still get asthma, and they would probably kick me out anyway. But, I wouldn't let it bother me so much. It probably wouldn't be, mentally it wouldn't have been as big of a deal. But even then, like, some of their stuff didn't work on me because I already hated myself so badly when I got there. Like, just hated myself my whole fucking life, right? Just, like, I never knew anything else. So when I got there and was already, like, mentally stabbing myself repeatedly in the chest every day, and then you get there and somebody else is showing you how bad they want to do it, They hate you too. Oh, it's so convenient. We can all hate me together. That, it's like, in a way, you don't care that they yell at you. It's still offensive because it's stupid. And it's not how adults should communicate something important, or unimportant, because they scream just as much about shit that doesn't matter. But, the whole thing is mental. The entire thing is mental. And it really is all in your head. And, everything they do is all in your head. And I think for a lot of people who are out like 10, 15, 20 years, because I'm coming up on, this year it'll be 13 years since I've been gone, since I've been out of there. And they get in your head because, see, before I even joined, I'm going to tell you where this started. In my teenage years, I really, really dug my heels in with my spiritual search, or my search for whatever my religion was going to be, or whatever, for the rest of my life, which doesn't work, by the way. I haven't held on to any of that because I haven't needed it. I finally learned after reading everything and studying everything and trying everything, I don't need any of it. So it's like, but it, at that time I was, as a teenager, especially as an older teenager, I was really experimenting with a lot of different things. And at one point, I was touching on Native American spirituality. Well, my mother is Eastern Band Cherokee and Muskogee Creek from Alabama, so I read about that and I studied that as much as I could, what little I could find. This is 20 years ago, so there's probably plenty more information now. It's just at that time it was just like so much. I only had websites like Crystal Links and shit like that, so there wasn't that much out there at that time, I guess. But I was reading about them, and I was reading about their, Indians having such a hard time with the government and things like that, and it led me to government conspiracies, and that was where the door opened. I got in touch with my Indian heritage, and that's what led me to the shit I was in, knowledge-wise, when I joined the military. Because by the time, I swear to you, I really believe that they already knew who the hell I was when I got there. I really believe they did. Because I was all over the fucking internet, signing petitions, promoting things, researching shit, reading things, saving documents, printing things out to keep. I was involved in so much shit, learning about government shit, government racket. I think that they already knew who I was when I got there, because I had I had fooled with it so much. And either that, or maybe they didn't know anything about me and they just hated me right upon, just upon looking at me, like a lot of other people have, I guess. And, it's whatever, but shit happens. But when I got there, they were hard on the, the rest of them that got pulled aside a lot, but there was something about me that just irked them. And I didn't, because I hated myself so much, I didn't carry myself as, you know, some big-breasted bitch that, like, you know, had the world wrapped around her finger. Like, I just did. A lot of women who hate themselves will do that. They really walk around like they're top dog because they're trying so fucking hard to hide. They're doing the way men do it. The women that do that, they're doing it the way men do it. God damn it, I'm the goddamn best. You get the fuck out of my goddamn way. I'll goddamn kill you because I'm the fucking best. Suck my dick. And that, there's women that do that. Not everywhere, but now and then you'll run into one. Just every once in a while. It's real fucking awkward. Because you know dudes are going to do it. So you just kind of like used to that and just kind of like, you know, push it aside. But when women do that, that's fucking bizarre. It's fucking bizarre. And they're in the military too. Don't kid yourself. They're there. And they fit right in because they compete to the death with men. They compete so bad. I had them competing in my face one time. I was like, both of you shut up. But, you know, it's just real. That world is so backwards. It's so backwards. But anyway, when I got there, because I hated myself so much, I did not do the... well, I'm the biggest bitch. I'm the baddest bitch in the land, and I swear to God, if you don't get out of my fucking way, I'm gonna kill you. You know, I don't process things that way. I kept my head down. I kept my mouth shut. I still made friends with people. I still, you know, people liked me and things like that, and I got on with plenty of people. And a lot of people knew me, and I was a lot more popular than I realized, and I don't know why that was. I have no idea. I have no idea. I wasn't doing everybody, so it's like it wasn't that. I just thought, why the fuck? But there were just as many, there are always as many people who hate me as... Well, there's plenty of women who hate me. I think the men, you know, eventually finally forget about me after a while, but it's women who, like, they hate me and they hate me for years. But I don't bug them, so I don't know what it is. Like, I don't compete with them. Well, I don't compete with men either, but I mean, there's just always somebody. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, no matter how good you try to be. So, in the Army, I tried to do as I was told. I tried to, you know, just keep a low profile. And I didn't, a lot of times when my depression was so bad, I wouldn't take care of myself, and that got me in trouble. And they didn't give a shit about that. They don't. They do not. They don't give a fuck about your depression. And one time, she had had the whole unit downstairs outside on the, not platform, but it's like the gathering place under a roof. And she had everybody down there, and I don't know what time it was, if this is even day or night, I can't remember, but she was like, and y'all aren't going to go to CMS or something, it's the therapy. It starts with a C. I keep wanting to say CPS, that's not it. CLS or CMS or something like that. And it's going to therapy. And she was like, y'all aren't going to go there anymore, okay? We're not doing any more of that time. We're y'all no more fucking therapy. No more sign-outs for fucking therapy. And the problem was, we were going to therapy and talking to educated people, and that happened to be officers. And because the officers were the therapists and the doctors and the psychologists who we were talking to, because they went to school. Enlisted is for anybody that just needs to just get in, and that's not. If you're somebody, you go in as an officer. Period. That's the difference. For lack of a better way to put it. So she was getting pissed off that the higher ups were hearing all these bad stories about how awful the sergeants were, and they fucking were. I was in Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, and at first I was in the Delta Company, and the mascot was a dragon. I don't know if it still is. I guess I don't know. There's like I think it was painted on the floor in the barracks. But anyway, Brandy Castilleja, Brandy, I think with an I, Castilleja. That was the sergeant. She was an E6 at the time. She had been an E7, but she fucking hit a trainee, and they bumped her down one. And once you get to E7, it's real hard to lose. You have to really fuck up for that. And she did, because she's a fucking idiot. But anyway, if anyone knows who I'm talking about, shout out. So, there was a story going around that she had at one point had to put her husband in a body bag while they were out in Afghanistan or some shit like that. No one knows if that's true. It's just people talked about it. But there was a lot of stories about her going around that may or may not have been true. I don't know. But her hitting somebody and getting demoted, that did happen. Because she's fucking stupid. And she competed with the men real bad. She's the one I was talking about for the most. Her and another woman there were really worrying about doing everything the men were doing. And that doesn't make any sense to me, but there, you just about have to. So, she, because one of the men sergeants was telling me something one time, and me and him were just kind of like talking like normal, and she would jut in and start screaming, and that was her trying to show him that she was tough too, and shit like that. And I don't fuck with that. I do not fuck with that. I don't like that. It's weak. That's stupid. Don't do that. Don't come. First of all, don't come into a conversation between me and another goddamn person. I don't care if you do rank above me. I'm not talking to you. You know what I mean? But so they're real fucked up. These are real messed up people. I don't know how else to tell you. Now, you go in the military and you're gonna meet people that are perfectly fine and don't have fucking mental problems up the wazoo, and that's good. Stick around those people. They might be able to help you someday. But for the most part, you're going to meet an awful goddamn lot of people who are just real fucked up. And, you know, and they get by, and they get by. But they get by because their fucking PT scores are good. They get by because their 2 mile is good. And they get promoted for that. Because they care more about you being strong and dumb than anything else. They don't care what your fucking mental problems are. And they don't take it. And you hear about veterans saying, well, they don't take care of me. I was in for 25 fucking years and they don't take care of me. The VA is blah, blah, blah. They don't take care of you when you're there, bro. What are you talking about? You think it's different now between the time you were there? They didn't care about you then either. It's just then you were getting paid for it and getting fed for free every day. And you're noticing the difference now. But they didn't care about you when you were there either. Just it didn't matter then. But I mean, so anyway, she was telling us, oh yeah, no more going to therapy. And we all just kind of like looked at each other like, what the hell? Because every damn one of us belonged in there because we were so screwed up from the things that they had done, you know. And we went anyway. And she stopped me from going one day too. I was already dressed in civilian clothes and ready to go, and I went to the office and was going to check out. And she called. She was like, we'll fucking see if they're fucking there. And she called my therapist's office, my particular therapist, and she didn't answer the phone. She's probably in the fucking bathroom peeing for 30 seconds. And the woman didn't answer her phone. And the fucking sergeant put the phone down and says, well, she's not there, so you're not going. Go put your fucking ACUs back on. Get downstairs and turn rocks. And that's not a joke. You actually have to do that. You actually have to go downstairs and flip rocks over. Flip them over. And you just do that. Or paint them. The red ones. You know, so yeah, that is a real thing. That is a real thing. I have seen that. I have done that. And you do it for as long as they want you to. And you better hope they don't forget about lunch. So, but yeah, she made good and goddamn sure we didn't go to therapy after a certain point. And a lot of us, we had to start sneaking off to get to therapy because, like, we couldn't say that. We would say something else. We would sign out and go to BAMC, which is the hospital. And going to the hospital, that was like being in another city. That place was great. And you could be there, and everybody that worked there was nice, and you can, you know, get your little coffee and a little bagel or some shit, and just like walk around for hours and just like look at people and talk to people. And there were civilians there, like family members, you know, of military people who lived there on base as well, so they were there. And BAMC was like just like a fantasy world you could step into and just really escape. Like, and that sounds horrible now that I'm actually saying it, because like the hospital, like going to the hospital was a real fucking treat. There was one time me and a friend of mine, a couple of friends of mine, got on the bus, and there wasn't anywhere in particular we wanted to go. We just didn't want to be on fucking base. And we signed out for someplace, probably the hospital. And we got on the bus, and we sat on the bus and let him do his rounds all day long. And he drove for like 2 hours. He made all his stops for everybody else, like he was supposed to. Like he was doing what he was supposed to do, but it's just we never got off. And eventually he came to where we were sitting, and he was like, "Do y'all know where you're going?" And we were like, "We're not going anywhere. We're just chilling." And he was like, "All right." And he didn't bother us. And he was a regular civilian. He didn't say a fucking word. He just went back to driving and just kept doing his rounds all day long. And that was it. And we did that for a while. So, but once they told us we couldn't go to therapy, we were like, oh, fuck. And we got to start getting creative. And then we had to lie even more about our whereabouts. So they make it to where they take away, real basic shit that you need desperately, and they fucking dare you to try to squeak around it. And then you either obey and wither completely, or if you're like me and my friends, we said, okay, we got to come up with a new idea. What's it going to be? And you start getting creative, because you got to have what you got to have. And in that case, we needed therapy real bad. And we still managed to go. We had to lie. And boy, we got in trouble when it got caught up. When it caught up to us, we got our asses handed to us. We got reamed. But, that's just how it is. The people in charge at Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio at that time, in 2010, had no goddamn business being in charge of a fucking fly, let alone a bunch of adults. So, that I don't know how much has changed. I haven't been there since then. I haven't looked at it since then. I haven't talked to anybody from there since then. So I don't know what's different now in 2023. I have no idea. You'll have to go and find out. But I'm just telling you, at that time, that's how they were doing. I'd be surprised if it was terribly different. Because they don't listen to complaints. They don't listen to grievances. They don't when people kill themselves, they keep it quiet. And shit like that. So, and we found out, I'll never forget the day we found out that the people there who were put in trainer positions to train us, and this is for 68 Whiskey Combat Medic, if you go out to Fort Sam Houston, that's medical. The people in our unit in particular who were training us had been in trouble, and their punishment was to come and train us for a few months. Or so that's the story that got around. It made sense because almost all of them had such a fucking bad attitude. And then there were one or two like humble, quiet ones who were easy to talk to, when there wasn't anybody else around. But for the most part, the majority of them were absolutely impossible to reason with. You're not there to reason with anybody. There is no common sense used. There is no, there's no using your brain for solutions. It's, their solutions to things are real fucking, real backwards shit. And, that's just some of the stuff that goes on. That's just some of it. But especially when they tell you can't even go to therapy. But I think one of the worst parts about it is when the sergeants are acting up like they are, and they really, really, really do. When they do that shit, and you go to their sergeant, you go one up, and he doesn't do anything because he doesn't give a shit about you either. You get your ass handed to you for squealing on the one below him, because they look out for each other. Unless you just get real lucky, I don't know, you might, but for the most part they look out for each other. The officer, their office is hallowed ground. That's where you can go and be safe. That's like going to the embassy if you're in a foreign country. So you get to the officer's office and you talk to him, and you just like pleading, for lack of a better way to put it, to be rescued. It feels like you're begging to be rescued from captors. And the officers, 99% of the time, they listen to you. You might get one every once in a while who really doesn't care about you, but they pretty much can't do that. They kind of can't do that because the position they're in is a leadership position, and they chose that. Well, they also had to pass an awful lot of tests, but, you know, they chose that path. So they chose to be a leader, and they chose to be in charge and take care of everybody around them. So your XO is going to be who you want to go to, and you'll find out who that is soon enough. But in one unit I was in, he didn't care about any of us. Danzig, he didn't give a fuck. He was awful. He was about 5 feet tall, and he was like this wide. Like, because he was so short, he was trying so hard to be muscular to like look bigger, I think. And it looked awkward because he was like, he waddled, you know, like it wasn't threatening in any way whatsoever, you know, because he was like shorter than me, and I'm 5'7". I was like, who the fuck are you? But anyway, so Danzig, he didn't give a fuck about us. But another group I was with, I forgot the guy's name, but I can kind of see his face, and he really did try to take care of us, and he looked after us. And he had a little E7 that would pal around with him and do what he needed. And that guy was mean, and he would have a real bad attitude with me whenever the officer was around, because again, the one that's lower is trying so hard to impress the one that's upper that they'll destroy you in front of that person to try to look good. It never fails. It's very mannish. That's their little setup. That's what they like. Because they do that fucking shit to each other all the time. They do it to each other. Well, I'm gonna fucking crush you and show off my goddamn buddies, because that's what life's about. And they carry that mentality with them wherever they go, and they have put it in the military, and that's just how they do. And you being a woman in the military, they eat that with a silver spoon. They eat it with a silver spoon. I can't even begin. That would have to be a whole other video about the treatment women get in the military. They ought to just go back to just having a women's military. They really need to just do that. If you girls need to join that bad, you know, if it's really calling to you, fine. But I just think, you know, you wouldn't get raped or killed, at least not by, you know, somebody in your own unit. You wouldn't have half the problems if it was an all-women's army. You just wouldn't. It's the same here. It's the same in civilian life. The only difference is you're not locked up with them, you know, at night. You go to your own house at night and lock your own doors. That's different. But, you know, in the military, you're locked up in the room with strange men, and they have the chance to just do whatever they want to you, and it's like no one cares. So it's a lot harder to get away from it then. But the officers, they do care. The only problem is when they go back and tell your sergeants, now you need to be nice to so and so. Now quit fucking around. So and so came to me and said you've been blah blah blah. You better quit doing that shit. That's not what we do here. Blah blah blah. And then the little E6 gets their ass just handed to them like that on a little platter, and they just shrivel up, you know. And to make up for that, because their fucking feelings that they pretend they don't have are hurt so bad, they will turn to you and just drive a stake into you. Just drive a stake into you. They do not care. Those bottom level sergeants, they don't give a fuck about you. They do not. And as soon as they get their feelings hurt, they're going to turn to you, and they're going to absolutely shred you limb from limb for running your fucking mouth. Because they got in trouble for something they shouldn't have been doing, because they're in a leadership position as well. But they're also supposed to be training you face to face every day. So they can't waste their time screaming about dumb shit when they're supposed to be teaching how to be a goddamn medic. But because they're so busy each one of them is so busy trying to one-up each other, they're more worried about that than they are about teaching you. You know, the competition is fucking through the roof. So, you can't reason with anybody because everybody's worried about who's the best. And, that's the mentality. Just real animalistic reptilian cortex. Reptilian. And I might make a separate video for that, by the way. Shout out to those of you who know what I'm talking about. But, because I have a sneaking suspicion about a certain person. I can't remember his name, but I can see his face. Or at least, well, I'll get to that. I'll save that. I can't encroach the two topics here. But, you know, that's just how it is. And the men there will treat you the same, you know, especially if they're the same rank as you. They'll get just as ballsy, if not more so, than the ones in civilian life. I had one of them come right up to me and say, you know, I'd love to take you for a fucking spin. And I thought he was ugly as sin. And I was like, I had never spoken to him before. I was like, who the fuck are you? And why are you talking to me? I don't have... I deleted the pictures of me from the Army. I don't have any left. All that would have been on my BlackBerry, which I no longer have. The only pictures I have left are the pictures that my dad took of me at boot camp graduation with the disposable camera that he bought for that day. And I've got like 4 pictures left from that. They might be in that bottom drawer, but I can't really remember. I think they are. I think they're in that drawer. But that's all I got. So I don't have all the selfies and the pictures of friends and stuff like that I took while I was there. While I was there, I looked like a goddamn model like I always did at that time. I can tell you that right now. I had a little Cleopatra haircut where it was just like that, you know? I mean, people liked me. Like, I was popular. But I didn't realize how damaging popularity can be. I had no idea. I had no idea that people would hate me so much. I knew in high school that women hated me, but it was only women that it was only girls that I didn't know anything about and had never talked to before and had never been seen with before, never spoken to, didn't know anything about them, didn't have any of the same friends, never talked to, never associated with, nothing. Didn't know their names, nothing. And those were the girls that hated me the most. And I would always find out in real stupid ways. In the cafeteria one time in high school at Salem High School in Virginia Beach, I was walking out of the kitchen part with my tray, right, going to my table, and I passed this girl's table who was in my Latin class, and I forgot her real name, if I ever knew it, but her name in Latin class was Claudia, and she had long blonde hair, so she already had everything. She had the long blonde hair. She was skinny like a model. So was I, but I was better looking than she was. But she still had the long blonde hair and the blonde eyelashes, and they were big too. She had real big eyelashes, and like that was like one of her main features or whatever. She lacked the double D's that, you know, everybody was supposed to have, or else they weren't worthy. But I think she still got by because she was blonde. I still think that put her ahead of all the rest of us by a mile. And so I never talked to her because we never sat together or anything like that. Like, we already like picked our seats in Latin class, and I sat right up front next to the teacher's desk. I was the first because I liked her. I liked the teacher, Susan Marsh, Virginia Beach. If you ever are lucky enough to be in Susan Marsh's class, consider it a blessing because she's amazing. But I sat right next to her desk because I thought she was fantastic, and we got on well, and I had fucking straight A's in that class, and I never studied, not one time. Not one time. I think the only time I studied was for the whiz. That test, I studied for that because it was such a big ass chart. But other than that, I didn't study for that goddamn because I didn't have to. But that was the only thing I could do that well in high school. I couldn't do any of the rest of it. Latin and French, I fucking excelled at. Never fucking studied, not once. The rest of it, I struggled really badly. So don't take this as some kind of big brag, because it's not. I barely made it out of there because I hated math so bad, and that stopped me just about. But anyway, there was this blonde girl, and I smiled at her when she looked at me, but like I never talked to her because we sat far from each other. And times when I did look at her, she would just kind of like look away, you know. And I was like, well, she's shy. So I didn't think anything of it, but I never like made a point of, you know, getting to know her or whatever. I didn't do a lot of that. I think if people liked me, they would talk to me, and then that would be it. So I pretty much left it up to everybody else if they were going to be my friend or not. And one day in the cafeteria, out of nowhere, I'm walking out of the kitchen with my tray, walking past her little table with her fucking friends or whatever. I didn't think anything of it because I walk past her all the time. And one of her friends at the table was like this big butch girl, or like this big mean, like loudmouth kind of girl. And she, the girl, the friend of hers, looks at me and says, wait, and stopped me from like walking. You know, she got my attention. And she said, what's all this? And I was wearing a dress with pants underneath because it was chilly. And I didn't dress the way everybody else was dressing anyway in the 2000s or whatever, early 2000s. Well, this is like probably not, well, no, this is probably 2000. 2000 at the earliest. And, or at the latest, I mean, sorry. And I said, what are you talking about? She's like, the pants and the dress. And I just kind of like shrugged and went to my table. I didn't even say anything because I didn't care enough. I was like, well, whatever, fuck you. Well, the next class after lunch was Latin class. And you better fucking believe when we got in that fucking class and we all sat our little dumb asses down, I turned to that blonde girl and said, hey, what's up with your friend in the cafeteria? Oh, I don't know. And I said, well, whatever. And I wasn't going to get an answer from anybody because everybody was too goddamn pantsy to just confront me like an adult, so I let it slide. But that kind of shit went on with me, with women, you know. Since I've started working for myself and I don't have to, I'm not having to compete with everybody every day. Because I'm the only person I work with. So it's like, I don't have that problem anymore. You know, there's nobody that is trying their best. There's no one who's getting out of bed every day to like try to one-up me. You know, there's no one who's living for that now because I'm by myself. So it's like, I get a break. But that's how they do in the military too. Women only do that when they're terribly, terribly terrified of not surviving because somebody else is better than them. And women think that they're taught that if they're not loved, that they won't survive. Which is why they keep awful boyfriends around, because they think that they love them. And without them, that they won't survive. But that's a whole other thing. But that's why. So, and there's only a few of them that do that. They're not, most of them are not that extreme. Men, on the other hand, they're kind of like, that's their point of operating. That's how they do. So when you get them in the military and everything's fucking escalated, all the hurt feelings are escalated. And in the military, they can scream at each other and really expose the hurt feelings by screaming at each other over little shit. There's a lot they reveal a lot when you go there and you see them do that. They reveal a lot. So just keep that in mind. I highly suggest you not go. If you're thinking about joining, I sincerely hope that you do not, but they are not, I'm just going to tell you now, if you're considering joining, they are not, in all capital letters, not gonna like you if you have any concept of thinking for yourself or any concept of taking initiative. And there was one time when there was a boy who was having a seizure, and he was a friend of mine. Heather Gunter. She was a cute little blonde girl with blue eyes, and she had glasses, and she was a nurse, and had come from a very hardship-ridden background, and all the time she was getting bad news about something. All the time. Things went wrong for her all the time, and I was right there with her, and I didn't know what to do because I hadn't been around anybody that had that much going wrong for them. But I just hugged her, you know, and that was all the time. She was crying about something, and I felt so awful because I couldn't do anything. But they were nice to her, though, because, you know, things just were so bad all the time for her, and they like made an exception for her sometimes. So, just forgot why I mentioned her. Oh yeah, so she was the friend I had. Now she had a friend, this young guy who was at the unit next to us, but there was a smoke shack out there, and that's where you meet people, in case you don't know. So we were all chilling at the smoke shack. I didn't smoke, I never have, but my friends did, so I was always there anyway. And there really wasn't anywhere else to hang out. So I'd sit in the smoke shack with them, and one night we were out there, and it was after hours, so I was still in uniform, but I had done just a little bit of makeup, just to make myself feel, just to remind myself that I was actually a girl. Had a little bit of makeup on. And we were all sitting out there, and my friend's friend, this young guy, started having a seizure. And we all kind of panicked. And I ran to my unit next door, our unit, which was right next door, was like yards away, and into their office or whatever, and let them know that this kid was having a seizure. And I was scared for this kid's life, because like the whole point that I had joined and like taken that particular job was because I wanted to help people. I'm the same way now. I'm the same way now. So I hadn't changed, but I wanted to help people. And so I ran in there with whoever fucking battle buddy, so I don't get raped along the way. I said, so-and-so's having a seizure, we gotta get over there. And the woman sergeant that was in there, she usually didn't give me shit, but that night she did. She chose, she pounced on me, and she said, why are you wearing makeup? Why the fuck are you wearing makeup? And like, she couldn't stand it that I had mascara. She couldn't stand that. And a little bit of eyeliner and a little bit of eyeshadow, purple eyeshadow, like just contoured, but that was it. It wasn't like I came out looking like a drag queen, but I had just a little bit of makeup on. It was Friday night, I was just, and she railed me for that. And she kept yelling about the makeup, and I was trying to tell her that somebody was having a seizure, and she didn't hear any of that. All of that just went all around her head. She didn't listen to a fucking word I said about the kid having a seizure. He could have been sitting there suffocating for all I knew, but I couldn't get back to him because she was so busy yelling at me about my goddamn eye makeup. And it's things like that. It's dumb shit like that. Because see, the things I'm describing are seemingly small things. They sound little. Because you could hear this and think, oh, well, that's kind of a little thing. And it is. It is a little thing. But not in the military. It's not. It's a big thing. It's a big thing. Because they're going to spend more time screaming at you. Because, see, it's a man's system, so there's hierarchy, and there's rules, and there's supposed to be structure. It's actually just lack of sleep to help with the brainwashing, but I'll get to that. And all these things that are in place that you have to do and be, and you gotta do this, and it's gotta be this, and you can't do this, and it's this, blah, blah, blah. And they're trying to just cram you into like their little cookie cutter thing, like their little. And if you spill over, God help you, like they can't take it. They cannot take it, and they will prioritize shit that you would have never have imagined would have been goddamn prioritized. Which is why me and especially the person I was with was real quiet. I don't remember who it was, but somebody who didn't say anything. And because they weren't about to interrupt me and this sergeant woman yelling about whether or not we were going to scream about my makeup or scream about getting this kid some help. I think eventually he ended up being okay once it was all said and done, but it's just things like that. And then once you have so much, and then there's times when if they really don't like you, whether you're in trouble a lot or not, if they really don't like you, they'll draw up out of thin air, like I mentioned in the Facebook post and in my previous Instagram posts. They will procure like magic out of absolutely nothing a story about your whereabouts, and you were in a place where you weren't fucking supposed to be. God damn it, you're gonna die. And they don't like it when you're in a place they don't want you to be. They don't like that. Even if you're with 10 battle buddies, if you're on punishment and you're like out of bounds, you know, like in a place where you're not supposed to be because you're on punishment, you know what I'm saying? Like you're grounded and you're at the fucking Pizza Hut when you shouldn't be because you're grounded. That, they cannot stand that. They can't fucking stand it. And they will pull their hair out about dumb shit like that. But if they really want to get you and they can't come up with anything because you really haven't done anything, and I went through this more times than I'd be willing to sit down and try to count. But if they really can't come up with anything, they will come up with it. And you will get called into somebody's fucking office with 2 or 3 people yelling at you about who do you think you are? Why were you at the Sbarro's, whatever the fuck, whatever that pizza place is across the street. If you know what I'm talking about, at Delta Company, there used to be a lot of construction around there. I guess it's done now, but anyway, if you're at Delta Company training for 68 whiskey, if nothing's changed, there's a small pizza place. It might be Sbarro, but I can't really remember. I don't know what it was, but it was like that, a pizza place and like a small exchange store where you could just go and get shit, you know. I think that was only 2 places in there. It was just like a little ass building, and there's the company, a little bit of grass, a road, and then grass, and then a sidewalk going just up, just a tiny bit, just a little bit of an incline, and then a little building right there. And this is like just yards I'm talking about. And it was the pizza place and the post exchange. But anyway, so, and there was something else in there, like a barber shop or something, right inside the door on the right. And I don't remember what it was because I never went in there. This was probably a barber shop. But anyway, so, yeah, if you're not doing enough, or if they want to really slam you and they can't come up with anything, they'll come up with it. And they would, I don't know the times I stood in that office, in that building we were in. I don't know the times I stood in that office and got yelled at for being at such and such place when I wasn't there. Well, so-and-so, Sergeant so-and-so saw you there. Well, Sergeant, whoever the fuck that is lying his ass off. And you can't say that because they're still going to protect each other no matter what. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter. They're still going to say, well, Sergeant so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. And they'll sit there and you can watch them. You can watch them sit there and type up a goddamn story about what you did wrong. And you made God angry. And now, God damn it, you're going to pay. And they will fucking print it out in front of you and turn it around and be like, all right, sign on that line. And you have to, and you won't go to bed until you sign it. You don't eat, you don't shit, nothing until you sign the document. And so I would sign it and like sign my life away like I hadn't already done that. And sign away what was left of me, the shell that was left of me. And then they'd tell you, you know, what your punishment was going to be and to get to it. And that could be anything. Just whatever. It didn't matter. And then if you go to the officer and say, well, they've done this and this. Well, then why'd you sign it? Because they wouldn't let me shit or eat or go to sleep until I did. You know, what do you mean, why did I sign it? Like, I don't own me anymore. And then the officer says, well, why the fuck did you guys do that? And then it depends on who else was there. If another officer let it happen, there's like not a whole lot that can be done. And that's why the sergeants will get the officer that's on their side in the room if it's bad enough, and they'll make sure they're all on the same page. So that way another officer can't say, hey, you know, whatever, butter bar so-and-so, why'd you allow for blah, blah, blah? Oh, well, because this sergeant, this private, blah, blah, whatever, did this and this, and I'm not going to fucking let that happen. And so it's like, and then after that, you can't really... So if they get a good team together of people that are high up enough to support their bullshit, you can forget it. And that happened to me, I don't know how many times. I don't know the times in my life I've had people come to me with stories about me that never took place. Not just in the Army, but I mean just like, just throughout my life. Like, so many people have fucking hated me. Like, I don't know why. I just have no idea. I don't bother anybody. I mind my own business. I mind my own business. That's all I do, is mind my own business. And help people. It's like there's always somebody who just wants me dead, you know. I'm still alive. Sorry. I sorry. So, it's whatever. But that's just some stuff I can remember. If you want more stories, probably stuff I haven't mentioned in this video, you can go look at my other video, and it's called My Time in the Army. You have to scroll back. It's probably from like 2 years ago. And I was outside at a park, walking, pacing like a tiger while I was filming, because I was like talking so much. But I'm outside in a park, and my hair was still long, if you look for it. But it's My Time in the Army. That one and this one are going to be probably my 2 videos about it, because after this I probably won't have much to say. But I had that dream, you know, where they were chasing me like a boar. And it's weird. It's just weird how stuff comes up. It's just weird how it comes up. So I really think at this point, I may try to go under some kind of hypnosis, because I want somebody to dig into that and just see, you know, what my problem is. Like, see why I'm still hanging on to that. Because when I think about being in the Army, I don't feel the sting anymore. It's like I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, you know, that sucked. I'm glad I'm out. And I'll see people in uniform and just think, yeah, I'm glad that's not my life anymore. And that's it. And that's like the extent of my thoughts on it in the moment. You know, if I'm presented with it, I'm just like, well, just glad I'm not there anymore. So I figured I was past it, but you know, there's some part of it that's still in my subconscious that is, you know, rearing its head. But like I say, they just don't like people who do their own shit. They don't want you to do your own shit. They want you to do what they want you to do, come hell or glory. And it's mostly going to be hell. And maybe a little minuscule bit of glory, but probably not. And then if you get on TikTok, you can see all the women telling their stories about how bad the raping is. And the men, and mostly it'll be men who aren't in the military and have nothing to do with it and don't know anything about it, and who will be the first ones to pop up and have any opinion whatsoever about the military, which is odd. They think that because they're a man that they already know about it without having to do it. And that's not how that works. You have to be there to be able to speak on it. Period. So, somebody who's never had a period can't tell me what it's like. Period. So it's like, if my balls have never shrunk up in the cold, I can't tell you what that's like. Period. Does that make sense? So, but they'll be the first goddamn ones to sit there and say, well, you're not made for that fucking shit anyway. That's for fucking tough guys. Like, oh, tough guys like you that never joined because you didn't want to do that? So, like, don't. Because I'll crush it. I'll crush you. But, so, but that's going to be the first one who's going to pop up and tell you, you know, you gotta close your goddamn legs. Maybe if you didn't dress like so fucking feminine, meaning the same fucking ACUs everyone else is fucking wearing, the same ugly dumbass looking digital fucking shit. Get the fuck out of here. You know, I could go on all day, but I'm just like, because I heard some fucking horror stories. I'll leave you with one more, but this is funny. I'll leave you with one more, and then I'll probably end the video. While I was in medic training, our E7. I forgot the guy's name, but I can see him. It's like, I can't remember his name, but I can see his face so well. But anyway, he would tell us, he would try to tell us these real uplifting stories, which was fucking horse shit. But he would, like, spoon feed us these bullshit ass, you know, uplifting stories to really motivate us and make us feel good. Huh? And, I told you I was there. And, he was so full of shit. Oh my God, he was so full of shit. It was like coming out of his ears. But anyway, so he told a story one time about how he was sitting at home with his family, and he's probably like 50 at the time, between 40 and 50, closer to 50. He was at home with his family, and like he had lost his wedding band, and they looked for it and they looked for it, and he checked in his Bible, and there it was in the pages of where he had left off when he was reading it last, and that's where it was. Well, a friend of mine, I forgot the kid's name, but I can remember his face. If I saw him today, I'd know exactly who he was. But a friend of mine who it started with an R, not reader or writer or something like that. But I can see his face, but it started with an R, his surname. But anyway, he stood next to me, and in line, when we lined up, you got to go in alphabetical order. So he said, as soon as Sergeant, whatever his name was, told that story, my friend who stood next to me was like, "That's not true." I said, "Really?" Like, I didn't believe it, but what do you know? And he said, "Are you fucking kidding me? I'm friends with a stripper that helped him find his fucking wedding ring at the fucking club." And I was like, "Ooh." Lamal, whoops. So that's that. But I'm surprised he was even sober enough to remember the story, that even happened in general, let alone twist it and make it into something inspirational and Bible entwined. But oh, hang on. Sorry, but anyway, so yeah, so they just keep in mind, this shit you hear is never what it really is. It's never what it really is. And if they tell you can't go to therapy, that's wrong. If you are going to tell somebody that somebody has done something wrong to you, which I would believe 1,000%, I would never doubt you, because I know. Tell as many people as possible and get as many people in on it as possible. And if you have witnesses, get them to tell to, and or if possible, sign something. You need to get as many people on your side, or at least as many people in the know, as many people informed about it as you possibly can. Because you're going to have that whole organization going against you. I knew kids who who were supposed to be getting medical discharges, who were made. The doctor's instructions said, and I've read these documents myself, the doctor's orders that these kids had to carry around their pocket, in this sleeve right here, and it says, Sergeant so-and-so needs absolute bed rest for the next 6 weeks, and then come back to me on this day. See ya, Dr. So-and-so. And you carry that note around like it is gold, and you keep it in that pocket. Well, or probably this one, or that one, you know what I'm saying? But those doctor's orders are very, very, very important, because it lets people know that you are not supposed to be bothered. Sergeants didn't care about that. They made people exercise. See, there's a certain fracture that you get when you run, if you do it just right. And a lot of people, I didn't get this, but a lot of people, I wheezed before I could run enough to get hurt anyway, so I didn't have a chance to get hurt, I suppose. But at the top of your femur, like let's say where the bone is doing that, where it does it naturally, that little your running is not good for women. Our hips are tilted forward, so that impact really hurts us. They won't tell you that, but it just does. And there was some boys, but a lot of girls who were on crutches. And probably if they had predisposition to weak bones, I suppose. But that split right there, in the bones where it is naturally will get worse and worse over time, and it'll split all the fucking way down. That big bulb at the top of your femur right there, that whole thing will split. And you're talking about like that. So that's an awfully big split to have. That's going down the center of your the biggest bone in your body. And so your ass is on crutches for an unknown amount of time. Well, so with all those kids on crutches, the military doesn't care about you getting bed rest. They don't care. The whole reason of getting you out of bed and not letting you sleep is because the brainwashing takes hold better. That's the first thing I was going to tell you. Is when I studied the Native American stuff and the government stuff, I learned about brainwashing. And everything that the military does is brainwashing. The lack of sleep, the chants, when they have you chant songs and shit like that, all of that is brainwashing stuff. And I knew that going in too. I knew it even more so coming out. But anyway, that bone splits, and you're on crutches forever. Not literally, but probably felt like forever, because I knew people that were on crutches for like a year, and it's because they get you out of bed and they make you get downstairs and jog and run with everybody else when you should be on crutches, and they tell you to crutch in time with your platoon, and that you can't lag behind. And there were kids that just never got out of there because they couldn't get, they were told they couldn't be medically discharged until they got better. And they couldn't get better because they wouldn't let them get bed rest. So it's like just a cycle of that. I saw so much of that. I can't even tell you how much I saw. That's just the shit I saw. And I wasn't even there that long. So it's like, what's the use? But anyway, I knew I said I was going to leave you with a funny story, but I thought of that last thing. But it's important to say, because those people deserve to be mentioned. But anyway, yeah, that's what it's like. So stuff like that, and the brainwashing, it sinks into your psyche in ways you'd have never imagined. For a long time, I had nightmares about them chasing me down. The dream I had last night, I don't consider it a nightmare, because I don't feel that way in waking life. So it's like it doesn't bug me that much. But apparently, in my dreams, it does. So I may look for a hypnotist, just to see what I can see what I can find out. But anyway, I thought I would tell those stories, because it's important to know, and people deserve to know what really goes on over there. And there's going to be more and more of that as time goes by, as if there hasn't been enough of it already. But there's going to be so many people that have. The only difference is I got out. I left. I didn't stick around and finish any kind of fucking, what do you call it? You sign up for however many years. I didn't do that. I just said, just do my fucking paperwork. And then I made sure that I pissed them off enough to hurry it along, because I got to where I didn't care anymore. Once I got to a point where I finally accepted that they didn't care about me. I finally accepted it. It took me a while, but I finally accepted that they didn't care about me. And then it was after that I quit caring. And then once I quit caring about doing what they said, but also I wasn't afraid of them. The not being afraid of them was the worst part for them, because they can't stand it when somebody's not afraid of them. Because they would scream in my face, and I didn't cower, I didn't cry, I didn't shake, I didn't, look to someone else for help or any of that shit. And the reason I didn't do that was because my father was the same way. And I was used to that. I was used to getting yelled at, for anything. And it's like, it didn't matter. So, but another story for another time. But anyway, so that's my 2 cents on that. But I just wouldn't suggest it, unless you really want to just hand yourself over. Just hand your life over. I mean, you can get married and do that, So, the only difference is that in the government, it's different people controlling you all, every day. It's groups of different people, and then in marriage, it's just the man controlling you. So it's like just the one. So it just depends. But yeah. So that's. I mean, I don't have anything to hide. I don't get any benefits from them. I don't want any fucking benefits. I don't care. I don't want anything from them. They're not going to do me any favors. They can't do anything for me. I don't want to do anything for them. I don't have anything to gain from it. I'm just, I'm doing the same thing in this video that I do in all the rest of them. I'm just telling you about what I know. I'm just telling you what I know. And you can take it or leave it, and that's fine. I still know what I saw. And that's it. But I figured it was okay to tell that story, and feels like it's okay to tell it. And several stories, actually, I suppose. But I probably included some stuff in this video that I didn't include in the other one. But they're both pretty good videos. But anyway, I may expand on some of this other stuff later. I just got to think about how I'm going to say it. But that's it. So, I hope that was informative, if nothing else. And I hope that gave you some insight into a little hellish world that I never want to see you in. Alright, that's it. Thanks for listening.